Alright. That's as good as it's gonna get.
Good morning.
Good morning. Try and move a little faster. Welcome. Oh, pigtails. Mask. What? Welcome to the Sun Dragon Sideshow.
The Dear Becky and Lizzy edition.
Yay! And I've got my Kathleen Turner voice. Is that the... Because I've got my... I'm losing my voice, so I've got the sultry... The sultry deep voice today. Hello, I'm Rebecca. I'm the owner of Sun Dragon Art and I can't do that. I'm the owner of Sun Dragon Art and Fiber. It's still just as low though. And finally sunny and getting a little chillier. Brevard, North Carolina.
I'm Liz. I'm the minion there.
Yeah. So, yes, it's not a raining hot mess. I mean, it's never was a hot mess. It's winter. The sun is out. The temperature's not as warm as it was yesterday. Winter is coming back.
Yes. Not this weekend, but next weekend there's snow and rain in the forecast for like Friday and
If we had gotten snow with the last storm that came through, if it was cold enough for it to snow, that would have been crazy for us. So I'm trying out my hair with pigtails. Kind of like it. You know, I'll make do. It's all good. So I keep promising y'all travel stories, but I'm running really late today because I'm trying to rest because of this freaking cold. And I tested again last night. I'm still COVID negative. So I think I just have a goobery cold that I'm trying not to give to her. Another reason we stay this far apart from each other. And I'll be wearing this the rest of the day. So I'm not goobering on anybody else. I thought we would start with our questions. And I know some of you, if any of you care about these travel stories, you're like, what the heck? Maybe I'll start them today. We'll see. But I also don't want to neglect the people who are writing in with questions. Because I tell fun stories, but it's not all about me, I think. I think this is also about people wanting answers to questions about knitting and crochet and stuff. So Liz.
Yes.
What we got?
We have... Oops. Cancel. I was like, don't you want to reply to that? No, I want to read that. Color challenged. Dear Rebecca and Lizzy, I feel like I have no color skills. Do people just have it? Is there a way to get better at it? I love Rebecca's Juniper Crop by Caitlin Hunter and have tried the Soldatna and got to sleeve separation and frogged because my colors were so bad. I have been knitting a long time and wonder if continued practice would help me get better, or am I doomed to a life of poor color choices and projects of one color only? Hopefully you both had a relaxing time with family and feel recharged after the holidays. Blessings to you both. Signed, Color Challenged.
So this is my Jupiter crop that she's talking about. And she's saying she loves the color combo and has trouble picking out colors. Honestly, half the time I go to Liz for my color options. I think it's possible to say that some people have it. Like, Liz thinks of color combos I would never even think of. And I'm trying to be like, have this partially. It kind of shows. Here, I'll do this. No, wait. Huh? Ha! No. Anyway. Maybe I'll put it on in a minute. What do you think?
I've like, yesterday we were talking to a customer who, whose sister can, like, look at a dress and go home and recreate that dress. And that's something I wish I had. There's always ways to learn to do something that might not come as naturally to
like there's innate talent and then there's training on almost anything. And a lot of it's trial and error too. I mean, we have the ability in the shop to put down a bunch of skeins of yarn and lay them next to each other and ponder, and we were doing this yesterday when we talked about this being the yarn of the week, and I really wanted to, I'm suddenly like, ooh, this is colorwork sweater I've wanted to do. I don't think it's going to work for the knit along, but I love that. Wouldn't it be fun to have like bright colors? And then it was like, what's the third color going to be? And I was trying all these different things out, and both you and Carol kept going, do this, do this, do this. And I was like, I don't know. And like, these are never together. It's colors playing off of that. And I think I'm going to do this. Like, sometimes I just have to take a gamble. And it sounds like our knitter's been taking a gamble and has had to rip it out a bunch of times. There's no necessarily, like, this will work and this won't in terms of colors. Like, there's no, like, you can't put this color with that color. Oh, heavens, type of thing. Like, there's colors that may not pop against each other, but it's personal preference at some point if you like how colors look together or how they don't when you're doing, like, color work. I wanted to, we picked a lot of the brighter colors that would really pop with this. And honestly, with the number of colors that Jupiter Crop needed, there was only so many options for us.
Yeah.
One thing with this one, so there's a couple of tricks that may or may not help that we tried yesterday with this.
Yes.
One is taking a picture of the skeins of yarn like this and putting them in grayscale in the photo to see if they are the same value and might not pop against each other. Like these two, I was worried that they wouldn't pop against each other, but in grayscale, they don't, like, if they really wouldn't show...
They're not the same gray.
They're not the same gray. They're not the same value, I guess it is. Like, someone in color theory would have a much better, like, terminology explanation. Like, if I'd put this in grayscale and these had looked the same when it was, like, black and white, I might not have wanted to do this. But when I did the photo in grayscale, they all looked different. So that helped me. Another trick, Lyrical Knits did the Princess Bride Mystery Knit Along that I still have on needles. Another trick she had in terms of, like, one of the things with this grayscale thing and what I'm about to do is it's often a question of will the colors contrast enough to make it worthwhile. Like look at what Liz is doing here. This really pops, right? You can tell what's going on. If it's more muted, which is in right now, you might not see the thistles. So one of the things that the woman from Lyrical Knits was having people do, and I'm going to see if I can get a little more of this strand out, is taking two strands side by side and twisting them like this. And this might be too far away from the camera to see, but when you twist them, if they pop against each other, shows up a little more on my my sweater, then that's a good combo to use. If you twist them and you can't tell one from the other, I wouldn't use that combo for color work. It could be they're not going to pop, they're not going to contrast enough, stand out enough when you do it.
Well, and going back to the personal preference, everybody has their set of colors that they like. Like, I've expanded my set of colors since working at the yarn shop. Primarily because I'm like, oh, I really love that color today. And, you know, it's like, okay, so what would I put with that color to make it more comfortable for me to wear?
Ah, yeah. Well, whereas I'm like, I have to knit with colors I wouldn't normally, because if I only knit with colors I like, then the samples in the shop would all be the same color. And that, not everyone who walks in the door is going to like the same colors as I am. And honestly, I wouldn't have picked red for this sweater. And this is a sweater, it's the Tecumseh by Caitlin Hunter. And I've wanted to do it for a really long time. I want to do something different for the knit along. So I want to pick something with a thicker yarn for the knit along. Someone else was like, the Koivusa, also by Caitlin Hunter, they were recommending the Koivusa Light for the knit along. And it's beautiful. It's got feathers. It's on my short list, not the light one though. Although someone could pick the light one if we chose that for our knit along. Because I want to do, for the knit along, I want to do something with a thicker yarn so that there's more options of yarn in the shop, because we don't have a lot of sport weight in the shop. And so we might have a wider range of knitters who feels more comfortable doing it with a slightly thicker yarn. But it has 3 colors, a main color and a color for crosses and a color for feathers on the Tecumseh. And I went through, like, I want to do it in all neutrals and have fun with that and show off what it can do. And I've gone through so many iterations for this sweater. I never started it. And this is like my 4th or 5th. And maybe I'll actually start it this time. But I wouldn't have picked red. It's because I consulted with others. And sometimes we have knitters who come in Liz will suggest something and they're like, no. They just won't do it. And that's okay. And then we have people who take a chance and are surprised by something Liz came up with that we would have never thought of.
The other thing is it depends on the pattern. Like the night shift, you want to find
things that really don't go together.
Colors that shouldn't not be found in the same room, let alone the same project.
And then it's awesome.
Then it's awesome.
Yeah.
And people, like, when I'm putting together a night shift, they're like, wait, no, they don't coordinate. And I'm like, you don't want them to coordinate. You want them to be completely contrasty.
Yeah. And this might be a little bit intense, but I think it's actually going to be, like, for some, like, this was a really intense color work piece that not everyone would want to do. This could also look awesome in neutrals. It could, there's so many options for it.
I think for learning, like, colors, like, how to do it, look at other people's projects. Like, everybody's like, I don't want to copy, or I can only copy because I'm bad at colors. But if you go through some of the projects and you're like, should I make a ranunculus in a multicolored yarn? Somebody's already done it. Like, it's already there. There's striped ones. There's ones, there's just start looking through some of the projects and going, those colors aren't bad together.
And sometimes copying someone else is okay. Or the woman who's had to, if it is, I don't know if it's a woman, the person who's had to rip out a whole bunch of times. Hopefully they've learned something from that, or make notes about, I say this, I don't do this, I should. Make notes about what bugged you about something that didn't work, so you can kind of learn what works for you.
I was thinking about, like, places I could have learned color. And I think some of it comes from making my dresses. Because I go to a quilt shop, and quilt shops have a whole collection of fabric together. So the quilt fabric designers are like, I want to use these 15 colors. The palette. And I'm like, I like that one and that one, but I don't like all the rest. But they play well together. Mm-hmm. So if I need an accent, I can pull out, like, one of the other, colors. So I think some of it's just, like, looking at other people's color choices and going, yeah, I don't like that. Oranges and browns and yellows are not my thing. But sometimes, like with Noro, you need a yellow or an orange to make the colors really pop. And
sometimes you'd be surprised. Sometimes it's taking a chance. I find it's a confidence game as well, because I hesitated picking out colors for people, and I'll still pull Liz in a lot, but I'm more confident now that I can pick out something that will work. I think I picked out this color combo.
Yeah. If you're looking for something to make for you, start with, hey, what's my favorite color? What does my wardrobe look like? If your wardrobe's all neutrals, maybe go for a pop. Pick a favorite color that you haven't played with. Like, I'm all the time getting whacked with yarn by older customers because they're like, so what pop would you throw in? And I'm like, the neon green. And they're like, now Liz. And I'm like, but you want to be outside of the box, but you don't want to be that far outside of the box. So pick something just a little bit, fun. Go with, don't worry what other people think. Yeah.
That's a hard one, but it's true. Rock it like you mean it. That's why I wanted to go with at least these and put something else with it. So
we have lots of knitters who come in and they're like, I would love a red sweater. Love it. But what would my neighbors say? I was like, it's a red sweater. It's like a blue sweater or,
And often when we say things like that, not everybody, but often when we say things like that, it's our own internal judgment. Yeah. It's not, the neighbors aren't going to say anything. Yeah. But we are, and I speak from personal experience, we are worried that they will say something. Yeah. And so we self-confine ourselves because we're worried what other people would say. When other people might say, that is so amazing. Like, they will think highly of it, But we self-judge before someone else does, even if that person never is going to. Yeah. I totally speak from personal experience on that. So, just rock it like you mean it, and have fun with it. So Anyway, what's
Second
our other
question.
one? Sorry if I feel a little rushed here.
No worries.
I'm debating putting off the travel stories till Tuesday, but then I hear people at home again. Here's that self-judgment voice saying no, and so maybe people would be fine. Anyway,
short rows replace purling.
Oh, this okay. Go ahead.
Hope you all enjoyed your time off and had great holidays. Now to my question. I've heard Liz mention a couple of times that she'll do short rows instead of purling, so that got my attention. I immediately tried to search, but didn't find anything. Maybe my keywords were not right. Could you point me in the right direction to see how this is done? I've paused a shawl that knits and then purls on the wrong side, so maybe I could try this technique. Thanks. Just curious.
We have a clarification on this, because I think there's some confusion. It's your thing. I'm going to let you talk about it.
If I'm doing a project flat that requires purling, generally, I change the P to a K and knit across the backside.
Which will totally change the look of the piece.
The piece, yes.
So a flat piece, yeah, it totally, she changes how it will come out.
Yes.
Period.
Yeah.
What our knitter is referring to is something that Liz does because she loves garter, which is when you're flat, knitting every row. Get no purling. You want that look in the round, you have to do a row of knit and a row of purl. And I think that is what this person heard. What do you do when that happens so you don't have to purl, but the look is still the same in that case?
Yes. When I am doing a project in the round, like my Doctor Who hat, which was garter in the round, or my hap shawl, garter in the round, I will go to the center round marker, either do a wrap and turn on the next stitch or do a German short row stitch. Turn it around and knit back across the top. Go one stitch past the center round marker, do the German short row or the wrap and turn, and go back the other way. It will leave a seam up the back, or up the side where you're doing it on either side of that stitch.
It'd be a little bit noticeable, yeah.
But I don't like purling that much. So, if it requires garter in the round, I will do the German short row on either side of the stitch marker.
So you can turn around. So you're going this way, and then you turn around and go that way, and turn around and go that way.
Yeah.
So if this person is not talking about a hap shawl, which is like I'm about to do a blanket that starts in the center, and you're actually knitting, it's flat, but you're knitting circularly out from the center. Unless they're talking about that, we do not have an answer for them. Because just a big flat one, like a big triangle shawl that has stockinette in the center, where all the V's are on one side, you have to purl back across the row, unless you are able to teach yourself like the backwards knitting thing where you never turn the work around. That's not what Liz does.
I have done backwards knitting like once or twice. It works for just straight stockinette, but I cannot figure out how to, like, if I have to do an increase or a decrease or anything going across the back, I can't. And
usually some patterns do, but a lot of them don't.
It's a little wonky because you're using your left hand to pick up stitches, and do you get them twisted? And sometimes I get them twisted, and so
it's understanding the mechanics of the stitch to be able to do that. And it's not a simple wrap and turn, and now you can knit back across. Yeah. If it's flat and it's not a flat one that's circling out like this. So I hope that helps the person who asked that question. If you're actually interested in creating garter in the round, like on the top of a sweater, and you don't want to purl, I would try searching that. I would try searching garter in the round without purling or something like that, or short rows for garter in the round, or something like that.
That I found a video
wrap and turn for that. Yeah.
That was like, hey, how to do garter in the round without purling, and basically it's a short row back.
We had a knitter who did that because they were putting a Batman insignia on the front of their sweater that was made in the round, and they wanted to be able to come back and catch the intarsia and not have to worry about multiple balls of yarn and crazy stuff. So she went around and did the pattern work, and then came back and did the pattern work, and then when she did that with the short row wrap and turn thing too. So but it shows a little bit. Yeah. It's not perfectly, you can't notice that it happened. We just warned people about that. So we have 5 minutes. I could start. Liz is like, I get to knit again.
I get to knit again.
So, it's such a crazy story. I may not be able to tell very much, especially if our lesson shows up right at 10. But I have crazy stories for like the whole vacation. Anyway, so I headed out to the airport on Christmas Eve. And it was -3 degrees here without the wind chill. So it was cold, right? And the beginning part of my trip goes well. I managed to make it down to the airport and only had to stop to go to the bathroom once. It's an hour and a half away from here in Greenville. And the little shuttle bus picked me up right at my car because I was worried I'd have to wait for forever for the shuttle. So I got there early and I checked in. And as I'm checking in, the lady's like, well, driving down, my mom was texting, hey, your second flight's been delayed. I was like, okay. As I'm checking in, the lady I'm checking my baggage with is like, well, I'm sure you've heard your flight's been delayed. And I say, yeah, the second one. She said, no, the first one. But don't worry, we've already booked you into a backup flight. My original second flight was at like 3. She said, we've booked you into a second backup flight from Atlanta at 9. Just in case, because with the delay in the flight, you probably won't make your second flight. But we've got you covered. I'm like, okay. So I go through security and I get it. Greenville's not a big airport. There's like 2 little terminals, whatever. And I go sit down and start, zoning out because now my first flight's been delayed. I have 4 hours until it leaves. And my mom bought my tickets because my family loves me. So my mom would be getting the updates. That's why she texted me on the way down. And suddenly I get a text from my sister a couple hours in and she's like, hey, my husband said that your flight's been canceled. And I'm like, what? I haven't heard any announcements. I look around. I'm flying on Delta. That's our lesson. I'm flying on Delta, and there are no personnel anywhere. I think she's coming up to the door. So I'm like, there's no one to talk to. There's no one to figure out what's going on. I go find the boards. I look it up on my phone. Yes, it's been canceled. I'm like, what do I do now? My flight's been canceled. And again, there's nobody at any of the gates to talk to. So I'm getting a little frustrated. I am carrying too much carry-on stuff. And I walk over to the other terminal. I try calling. My sister's like, get on the phone with someone. I try finding a phone number on Delta's website, and it's crazy. I can't find a phone number. I finally find a phone number after digging. And when I find the phone number, it's like, the current wait time to talk to an agent is an hour. So I hang up and I go to the other terminal to see if I can find a person. And I start talking to a person at a gate, and it turns out they're like, which airline are you with? I'm like, oh, you're not Delta. You're Southwest. Uh-oh. And he said, you're probably going to have to go back out through security. I was like, I really wanted to avoid that. But as I'm heading out through security, and I try calling back again, this time the wait time is 2 hours. So I catch other people going out who are having the same problem as me. And I'm like, I'm sticking with you people. And we have to go out through security to talk to a ticket agent. And I think I'm going to have to leave you all on a cliffhanger here because we have to open the shop. But we go to the agent and we're like, what is going on? Like, there was no one inside to talk to. What is going on? So at first, I'm really frustrated with Delta. Really frustrated with them. The ticket agents, though, we've got multiple people behind the counter who are talking to us, and they're like, we're trying to wrangle a bus for you to get you from Greenville to Atlanta so that you can catch your connections. So, like, rather than, canceling everything, rescheduling things, we're trying to figure out a fix for you. So we're trying to get a bus. And we're like, okay. That's odd, but okay. So we're trying to get you to your connections. And at this point, it's like, it's noon 30 or whatever. And they're like, it should be here at 2:30. We tried for 2. It should be here at 2:30. And it was going to be maybe 2.5 hours to get to Atlanta from Greenville. And so we all sat down in the lobby to, have lunch, try to wait. And so we don't hold up our lessons in the day. I'm going to leave it as a cliffhanger there. We're in the lobby of the airport waiting for a bus.
Dun, dun, dun.
And I'll pick up the story on Tuesday. All right. Everybody have a good weekend. We're going to have Sit and Stitch tomorrow night, virtual, on Zoom from 7 to 9. Get in with a shop phone number.
828-877-3550.
It's still a couple of weeks till the Sunday one. I believe that's on like the 17th or something. We'll double check and tell you next week. So, more stuff on the knit along for January we will talk about on Tuesday. I might have ironed out some things. I've started a project. I have just the cast on. That's what I did this morning. I'm trying to rest up from this cold, so I'm trying not to push myself, which is only partially working. So, we'll talk to y'all on Tuesday, okay? Bye! You remember where we left off. Waiting for a bus.
Cliffhanger. Hanging by a cliff.
I think that's a really good place for me to stop because I know what happens next.
Yes.
So, all right.